All right. Good evening to everybody out there. You're watching Amateur Radio Roundtable, a show about ham radio, shortwave, electronics, so you name it, we've got it here. And we welcome you, and especially if you're out there listening on shortwave station WBCQ on 7490, we would love to hear from you. Send us an email, tell us where you are. Our address is tom at w5kub.com, tom at w5kub.com. If you will, hit that subscribe button right down in that area there. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. It helps YouTube to share our show with other people. It helps them to find our show when they're out looking for shows similar to ours. Join our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is called W5KUB. We've got about 15,000 members in that group now, so it's still growing pretty good, and it has a lot of good information, and you can ask questions and get a lot of answers and help in that group. We're on every podcast carrier out there: iTunes, Google Play, iNet Radio, Spreaker. All those, just you can find our audio only show out there on any podcast carrier. So we'd love to have you just find us anywhere you can, and hopefully you enjoy the program. Hey, there's a shot of WBCQ up in Monticello, Maine, right there on 7490. I got a recent shot here. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, look at that. Hey, look at that, Glenn. Look at that, man. What do you think about that, Glenn? WBCQ. It seemed like the hard line's always freezing up there, Man.
Yeah, those electrons are freezing jumping off that
Sounds
antenna.
like they're always freezing up there, man. I don't know. But anyway, we've been on WBCQ now, I don't know, 5 or 6, 7 years, I guess, quite a while,
Quite a
and
while.
we've enjoyed being on the air with them. Hey, we've got Jim with us tonight. Everybody knows Jim has been going through some major medical treatments, and he looks like he's feeling fair tonight, and he's with us tonight, and he's got a couple of things he'll share with us. We got Brett with us, we got Glenn with us, and of course we've got me with us. Hey, tonight we're going to go back in time a little bit, but a lot of people probably haven't seen this or don't remember it. I've got a walk-around tour that I did with Ameritron. So if you want to see how Ameritron amps are made and see all the insides and everything, we're going to look at that in a little while. And also the metal shop. Did you know MFJ makes their own metal boxes? And I did a walk around up there with in the metal shop right after they had to replace their cutting machine. Their machine went down, and I don't know if they had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get a new machine in there. And we're going to see that new machine. We're going to see them cut some metal out and bend it, and we're going to see their silk screen process. So I think you'll like that. Let's see. Hey guys, the average speed. Let me show you something. How does an airplane fly? Let's talk about airplanes. How does an airplane fly, guys? Right, there it is, right there. Got a little magic here, a little magic there happening. That's how it flies. But a typical airliner flies about 500 and something miles per hour, I think. But
Yeah,
hey,
thereabouts.
talking about our balloons and being very familiar with the jet stream, the reason I'm bringing this up tonight, the jet streams have been over 800 miles an hour up there, and there have been a number of different carriers that have exceeded 800 miles per hour. The speed of sound is 790 miles an hour, guys, and some of these commercial airlines have hit 840 miles per hour. What do you think about that, guys? 840 miles an hour. What do you think?
Well, yeah, but that's ground speed, not air speed. So they're not exceeding the speed of sound at altitude. If it's
Well, I don't know. I might have to get Brett to argue that with you in a little while because I'm not smart enough to argue it. Brett, you think you can argue that? Is he right or wrong?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. If that's that could be ground speed if they've got a tailwind. Um, The Concorde broke the speed of sound, but conventional airplanes would basically fall apart if they, if they did. They're just not built to handle the stresses.
Yeah,
You
and
mean you mean the door plug might fall out?
yeah, the door may pop open and come open here, but yeah, hey, but hey, typical airline speed is about 575 miles an hour. So anyway, hey, 840 miles an hour. I watched some videos, and they weren't in just a real smooth ride either. It looked like they were doing. It looked like they were doing 840 miles an hour on a bucking horse, to tell you the truth. Hey, another airline story I saw a while ago. Air Asia. The movie Snakes on an Airplane. They had the staff on the airplane. What do you call them? Not stewardess anymore, but what do you
Flight
call
crew?
them? What? Say again?
Flight crew.
Yeah, the flight crew. That's not exactly what I was looking, but they were picking snakes up. They were crawling down the overhead luggage rack. Snakes. So that was another one. So hey, we got snakes crawling down the planes. We got doors coming off. We got regular airliners exceeding the sound barrier. Man, this is a time to fly. Ooh, gee whiz. Hey, I also want to talk tonight. There is, and we'll get into discussion, and I'm sure you guys probably know a little more about what's going on than me. We'll talk about Congress has issued a bill S3690, which will allow amateur radio antennas in HOAs. So we'll talk a little about HOAs tonight. And let's see. Oh, another thing, we talked about the Jasper, Alabama radio station that disappeared last week. If you guys weren't on the show last week, you may look this up. There was this AM station in Jasper, Alabama. The entire 200-foot tower came up missing, and all their equipment in their transmitter building came up missing. There's a lot of controversy about that. I've watched a lot of videos, and there's no impact on the ground where a tower fell. Something fishy's going on out there, I think. We'll talk a little about that in a little while. And okay, so, and I'll just mention I still need volunteers to help us put on the webcast of the of the Dayton Hamfest. If I can't get enough volunteers to help out shooting video, then we probably just won't do Dayton this year at all. So let's see. I see Bill in the chat room. He has a new 200-foot tower. The station claimed the tower was worth $200,000, but I looked at it, and this place is pretty run down. I mean, this is the site right here after it was bush hogged. That looks like a Ron 25 tower, guys. That's not a $200,000 tower. So we'll talk more about that later. But that's the station that ended up disappearing right there. Okay, let's see what we got here. Hey, I tell you what. Let's jump around the room here. I see Brett's up first. Hey, Brett, how you doing, man? What have you been working on?
Oh boy. Well, I've been trying to hook up so that I could do better presentations. I've been trying to hook up an Intel Play microscope to my computer as a video source so that I can show little tiny things on Zoom. And the problem I'm having is it's a wonderful little device, but it was made for Windows 98. And I don't know if I can get it to play even with Windows 7, much less one of the more recent versions of Windows. So I'm still poking around on that.
Well, just check with Glenn, because he runs. I mean, he's pretty up to date. He's up to Windows 7 now. Mm-hmm. He could probably help you get that thing running there.
And let's see what else. This weekend I went to the Adams County, Colorado Swap Fest, which was a really great flea market, and spent a long time looking around there, and also sold some lightning protection gear. I have some extra. I have a big case of the polyphaser devices that I was showing, And I went and sold some of that and bought, and then of course immediately splurged and spent the money on other ham gear. So I
right.
added to my collection.
All right. Well, very good. Yeah, I'm gonna start getting out, going to some of these small ham fests. Glenn's been going. I'm going. We got a couple coming up. We'll talk about in a little while. But that's great. Hey, while we got Jim in here now, Jim may decide he wants to go to bed early tonight. Jim, of course, we're really glad you're with us tonight, but we know that it's tough what you're going through. So go ahead and pick it up, Jim, and
Okay. Good.
talk to us.
Good evening. Yeah, it's chemotherapy is what I'm going through, and it's because of the beginnings of leukemia. So the oncologist had 5 cycles last year. So each cycle is about a month long. At the beginning of the month, you go for typically 5 days, and then 3 weeks to recover, because basically you're being poisoned. So they're killing off blood cells. And as a result of that, each cycle last year, I became an inpatient. I was sometimes rushed by ambulance from the house. Code 3, doing not so well. One of the things they've done is to transfuse me, not excuse me, but transfuse me. And so I had transfusion number 19 on Thursday. I'm not happy about that, but you have no choice. Blood counts are so low because the poison is killing off, I think, all of the cells. So my hemoglobin was below a certain number, and I could barely walk to the front door to get in the car. So it's debilitating, and I don't want to bore people with it, but it's one of those things where you just sort of have to decide you're going to go through it or not. And I've decided to go through it. So right now we're scheduled for 2 more cycles. We did January, February, we'll do March and April. And then there's going to be an assessment. They changed chemicals too. The first chemical wasn't working because after I got through, my blood count stayed low. They didn't recover. So this new drug called Vidaza, Vidazzle me. I don't know who thinks up these names. Vidaza. And so I think it's made in China, to be honest with you. So I'll go through that, and then they'll assess. If it doesn't work, we're kind of at the end of the line. There's not much left. And then there's just care for the pain and suffering that you're going through. So hoping that Vidaz works well. And you have to learn all this stuff. You have to learn what hemoglobin is and white counts and all that stuff.
Well, it's tough what you're going through, but to have some enjoyment, I guess you're still trying to make ham radio videos.
I'm working on one right now.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of fun. I can tell you a little bit about it if you want.
Yeah, let's pick Glenn up, and then we'll come right back, and we'll take you first, okay?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Glenn, come on in here and tell us how things are down here, man. Come on.
Oh, man, things are going great guns, man. We're a couple chapters in on the final proof of the ARRL Arduino book, and Elector in Europe dropped 200 and something pages of the book over there on me last week. So both of these books are, going full speed. They should be out almost any time now at this rate. And it's so funny, because sometimes I write this stuff 6 months, a year ago before we get to this stage. And as I'm going through some of these chapters, I'm like, did I write this or did my editor tweak it?
Yeah.
And I've actually gone back to my originals. It's like, no, you wrote this. And I'm like, no, it's too good. Somebody else wrote this. So I'm really liking how these books are turning out. The Elector is going to be full color on everything. So that's going real good. I almost went to the Hoxie Hamfest this past weekend and decided at the last minute, no, I'm going to stay home and work on the books. But what is it? You got the Russellville Hamfest on March 2nd that I'm seriously considering, and then the West Tennessee and Trenton with
Yeah.
you on March 16th.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I got going on.
Well, Kathy and I are thinking about we may add a day or two to our trip over Russellville, go somewhere and do something nice. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking the Trenton is coming up just maybe a week and a half after that or a week after that. Something like it, not
Also,
long.
For those in the Memphis area, on March the 12th, Tuesday, I'll be doing an Arduino seminar at the Delta Club in Memphis.
Okay, all right.
So that
What-
just got
what I-
nailed down this afternoon.
All right. What I was going to say is, if you wanted to go up to Trenton with me, you could ride up with me.
That's probably a good idea.
You know, on that Saturday, we'll try to get out fairly early. You know, I mean, it's going to be probably an hour and a half up there, so we ought to
Yeah.
try to get out by,
Well,
leave
you're
here by
along the
8
way, so I
o'clock.
could easily leave early and just meet at your house.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
that
great
sounds
there.
good.
All right. So, hey, let's we'll talk about all that a little bit later in depth there. Let's go back to Jim. Hey, Jim, come on in here, and you've got some things to tell us that I didn't really know about. Now,
Yeah.
Yeah. what do you got there?
Of course, I should tell you I always knew it, but that wouldn't be
You
true.
always knew it? Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I was trying to figure out was this is there's a couple of connectors missing, but this is approximately 20 UHF connectors, PL259, SO239. So there's 20 of them in a line,
Wow.
and 20 N connectors. And the question is, which one should I use? Brett knows the answer to this because we've already talked about it. But what connector is a good connector for the typical ham radio station? Should you use an N connector? And in doing some research, I found that there were three connectors I looked at: a BNC, N, and the UHF male. And I found that the BNC was named after, and Brett already told me he knew the names. It's a bayonet Neil Conselman connector. So Neil and Conselman were two guys who came up with that connector. And then, as you know, it's pretty good at a lot of frequencies. The N connector is the Neil connector. I didn't know that. And of course, it's a fairly difficult connector to get going. So the question is, which is the best connector for me to use? And I'll bring myself back up, bring me back up on the screen. So, Tom, you're an IEEE member. You already know the answers to some of these things. Brett does too, I'm sure. But which is the best connector at, let's say, 30 megahertz? Is there a difference in the loss between an N connector and a UHF male?
How much power?
Let's say 500 watts. I'm e-reading it just.
Watts, yeah, I would use the N connector rather than the BNC because the BNC isn't rated
Okay.
for that much.
Now let's.
Now he was
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the PL259 and the
Yeah.
N.
Now, but
Those two.
Brett, between the PL259 and the N connector, which one would you use at 30 megahertz, the 500 watts?
When you get up to 30 megahertz, you're getting out of PL259 territory. If I had my choice, I'd use the N. You can get away with UHF, with the PL259, but you're gonna get a little bit of loss.
Okay. Here's what I've measured more than once. There's no difference between the two at 30 megahertz. Period. Not an ounce worth of difference.
I was going to say there wouldn't be an ounce of difference.
Yep.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
gonna say with the UHF, I don't think it starts dropping off until like 70 megahertz and above.
Well, look, guys,
It-
if you guys remember the Motorola duplexer I have here, that's spec to go 450 to 480 megahertz, they use the PL259s on it.
yeah. Now, at 4 to 500 megahertz, there's a slight difference between the two in favor of the N connector. At 1 gig, the way I measured it was the N connector versus the PL259. The PL259 had about 2.5 times the loss of the N connector. At 400 megahertz, you're kind of getting to the point where you should cross over to the N connector. But here's the issue with the N connector, and Brett asked the right question, which is how much power. I looked through every data sheet I could find. Brett, if you find one, let me know. That would just say what the loss is at various frequencies, like a chart. Here's our N connector, and here's the loss. Couldn't find it. But the issue with the N connector is power. And at 1500 watts, it's a real dicey connector because the pin wants to withdraw from the socket that it's plugged into. And this has been my experience, unless it's a perfectly made connector and it's hard to do, the connection will carbon up and go high resistive. And then pretty much it's an open. So the N connector is good, but not if you're running power. So the PL259, which was originally a banana plug with a shell, when it was invented in the 1930s, it really was a banana plug connector. And by the way, it's called UHF because at the time it was invented, 30 megahertz was the end, and anything beyond that was considered UHF. So it was considered a UHF connector. It's an easy.
Yeah. I was going to say, Jim, one of the things that I think Hal brought it up in the chat room, PL259, there's a big difference between a high quality, like with Teflon dielectric in it, or a cheapy, Chinese with Bakelite or plastic or something,
There's a huge difference. He's right. And you may look at a connector and go, oh, that looks like Teflon. And it turns out it really isn't. It's plastic.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a gold plated pin, silver plated connector with the right dimensions where it threads on easily and threads off easily. Those are hard to find. They really are. You have to go pay top dollar. Brett knows of a source. Who is that, Brett?
Well, there are a number of them, but go with a name brand like Pasternak or Amphenol, and you'll be okay.
I like Amphenol.
Or go. You were talking about Neil and Conselman, the two inventors of these various connectors. You could also go, if you wanted, with the Conselman connector, which most people have never heard of.
Yeah.
What is that? What's that? 2 alligator clips?
No, it's a good connector.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's made primarily by Amphenol. Pasternak, which used to be RF Industries, makes it also. And it has the rubber seal of the N connector, which is one of the big benefits of the N connector. It's somewhat waterproof, but it's a bayonet connector like a BNC. And it has a longer pin that makes better contact. So it's probably better than all of the ones we've mentioned. The shame is that it only goes up to 6 gigahertz. If you want to do really high microwave stuff, then you're back using things like SMA. But for anything under 6 gigahertz, the C connector, which radio manufacturers aren't using, is probably better than all of them.
Yeah. I think for ham radio operators, the standard PL259, but absolutely a good quality, top name, top brand. Don't go for the cheapy one, the one that's $1.50. You have to get a good connector. And it's really important in your station that, the most important part of your station isn't things like the microphone. It's the feed line and the antenna. So you don't go cheap on it. And my last comment is, all I'm talking about are seemingly simple connectors. But Brett could probably talk for half an hour on the various connectors. There's lots of twists. There's lots of there's lots of things to consider in connectors. So here we're talking about something that seems so insignificant. It's on the end of your feed line, but there are different kinds and different choices. But PL259 in most cases, that's a good quality connector, silver plated, threads on easily, threads on, and that's really the test. If the pitch of the thread isn't exactly as it should be, it doesn't go on and off smoothly. So, and it's one that we can put on. It's hard for the average ham to put on an end connector and do it right. I can attest to
It's
that.
more difficult for sure. It takes more time. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we learned something about connectors tonight. We learned who invented them. And I've already forgotten. It was Neil and somebody else.
Consulman.
Consulman. Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, hey, Jim, thanks for bringing it to us, man. And looking
welcome.
forward to little segments like this every week. And, we'll pick up some new knowledge every week on things like this.
It's interesting how little things in our ham radio station have all these variables or different choices, and how important it is. And you think, well, really? Yeah, really. There's a lot to learn. Even if you've been a ham, you and I have been hams for 60 years, and I'm still learning stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. All right. Hey, thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
All right, let's see. Should we jump into maybe Ameritron here? Maybe. Let's do
Well,
that.
before we
okay.
go there, Tom, we've got some unfinished business from last week.
Oh. Yeah,
you cut the show off a little bit early because of some issues.
well, yeah.
I think we owe it to the viewers to explain that little technical difficulty.
Well, what can I say, man? What can I say? We finally found the source of the audio stream that was getting back in. I didn't realize it was coming back in my mic. I thought it was coming in through one of the many PCs we have networked here, but of course it wasn't. So I informed Glenn last week it was the TV, not the TV. It was the refrigerator in the kitchen, guys.
Wait a second.
That's all I can say.
The refrigerator was doing what?
I think it was calling CQ and a contact.
We had some audio coming in on a show. It was YouTube audio coming in a show that we couldn't find
from your refrigerator.
that we couldn't find.
The refrigerator watching YouTube videos.
We couldn't find it.
This is what's called an IoT device.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Did you have to pay?
I can't say much. I can't say much more about it, really. I really can't.
Was that a trade-up item? Do you want music with your refrigerator?
Now,
I'll
waiting. I'm waiting for my my MIG welder out in the shop to do it next.
Yeah. Now my refrigerator makes coffee. It's got a coffee maker.
Is that
built
right?
into it.
Oh, cool,
Yep.
man. Cool. All right. Well, hey guys, look, we're going to go to Ameritron and look at some of the Ameritron, the assembly, and the different components of their amplifiers and talk. The audio was not great. I had one microphone, and I had one of the Hio Pro microphones, and it is you got to talk so close into it. When I aimed at Mike at the person we were talking to, sometimes the audio was low because we just weren't close enough. I've tried to enhance the audio. I've gone in and tried to enhance the audio on those sections. So, guys, turn your speaker up. I may be a little louder than the other guy. Hopefully you can bear with it, but it is what it is. So I've got that video. It's probably about a 10 or 12 minute video, and then we've got another one of their metal shop, and we'll be looking at that new machine they've got that stamps out all their metal products here. So let me see if I can bring this up here. This will be the Ameritron tour. All right. All right, let's see what we can do here. We go here.
Hey guys, we're
Ameritron right now, and we're with Randy. And Randy, what's your call? Or do you have KC5NIS? Okay. And Randy's going to take us around here, but the first thing I noticed, I mean, you know, you guys build some high-power amplifiers here, right?
That's right.
And there's all kinds of ways to check it, but first thing I was noticing is the marijuana plants down here in the center. Now, y'all use those specially to the RF somehow.
What do you mean by high power?
The high power stuff right there. You use those to kind of help tune the amplifiers, right? Which way do we need to go first? Go down this way. All right. That looks like an input circuit for one of your amps.
The input circuits for the 82, the 1500, and the 1200 circuit. So, yeah, you can see the little tuning slugs right there on the side.
Hi. So there's an individual tuning coil there for each of the bands.
Right, individual slug for each band. So, and we tune that here. That's not something the customer normally does. We tune it here to match the tube to the transmitter.
I've got an AL80B. Does it have something similar to this, or are they?
All the tube amplifiers have something similar. It's not exactly like this, but every one is made to match the amplifier in the tube.
Okay. Well, let's see what all you got here. Oh.
This is one of the models they used to go by the field.
Yeah.
And you can see that network that you were just looking at right here in the front. This is the band switch. So at the same time you're switching the input network, you're also switching the output network.
Right.
There, so.
These are what 3-500.
These are 3-500s. Yeah, this is the AL82. So,
Okay.
but basically all three amps are the same except for this tube chassis here. So they all have the same power. So that's pretty good. Yeah, these squirrel cages, they move a tremendous amount of air for the noise, the noise level that they have. So, and we force it down into that chassis, and it comes up around the tubes. And of course, the ceramic tubes, the 1500 ceramic tube, it goes up through the fins, so it keeps it really nice and cool.
So this is the beautiful work, man. I mean, this is a pretty amplifier here with the three.
We wind all these coils.
You build the capacitors.
Build the capacitors and stuff like that here. So it's very little bit about the amplifier that we don't make ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got various parts here.
Right now,
The 80. Okay.
you can see this is the ATR 30.
Oh man, that is a beautiful tuner.
And you see this. This is similar to the MFJ roller inductor. We actually wind this ourselves as well, but you can see what this is made of. This is a quarter-inch, looks about 063 copper that's silver-plated.
Yeah.
And then all the components are also silver-plated.
And that roller inductor, you guys make this roller inductor?
We make this, we make this. We wind this everything we wind here. So we've got a silver-plated air core with a silver-plated roller rolling down it, so it makes a good contact.
Yeah, that is smooth too, man. That's just really smooth there. And you've got the you got your caps in there. Yeah.
Air variables that we put together, and just basically a switch for the different coax outputs, and then a balance for a ladder line.
Very nice. Very nice. Uh huh.
One thing at a time.
Yeah. And this is the back of either, I guess, the roller inductor or the that's the back of the roller inductors in the front. Yeah.
The 800H you were talking about will look similar to this. This is the 80B.
This is 80B. I've got one of these with the single 3-500.
500, yeah.
And this is, of course, missing the power supply.
Missing the power supply transformer, but yeah, the tank circuit and all there. And see, similar situation with the input circuit, except they're in the back of the amplifier on this one. Band switch up front, input network in the back. So, but all the amplifiers basically have the same circuitry. They just get a little bit bigger, a larger tube, larger power supply, stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Here's the transformers. Oh man, that's what we have in the 80B. Pretty heavy transformer. Pretty nice transformer. What's the voltage out on those transformers? About
On this
1,500 or so, or 2,000?
80B. No, it runs around 2,700 AC output. Then when it gets rectified, it jumps up to around 30, 31, 32, like that. So anytime you rectify,
Probably 20. Yeah, it's going to put it up 1.4 or something times that. So, all right.
This is a new one. Yeah, this is a new unit that he's testing.
AL82, he's testing.
with the two 3500s in it. You see, he's got the cover.
Okay. Is that to hold down any kind of interlock switch or anything? You got an interlock switch on there?
Yeah, don't get too close. That one runs 3600 volts on the plate, so.
Yeah, cool, man. And I see you got your bird watt meter up here, and do you have a kilowatt load or something? Yeah.
There out of the way, so it's very inglamorous, so you would keep it out.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that interlock switch is really neat to have, isn't it? So yeah, about 3,000 volts floating around, maybe, you know. Yeah, that's an input circuit.
This also is an input circuit, and the filament choke. This is for the 811 and 811H. So you can see the relay circuit and where you jumper it to change it from the 110 volts.
This relay, what are these relays for here?
These are transmit receive relays.
You know,
right.
one of the things, you know, being a ham 50-something years, used to homebrew a lot of stuff, but we use big relays, man, to switch stuff, you know. And
Well, we did
I'm
too.
amazed that little small relays like this can handle a kilowatt.
Well, we did that too. We had large, clunky relays, okay, and then the disadvantage of that, they're kind of slow. But one of the things we've done, even with the larger relays, you run into the problem of hot switching, which they're naturally going to do by themselves if you don't control it. But we're using two individual relays, and we have a little circuit here that's going to time delay the relays so that the output of the amplifier makes connection before the input. So you don't get any power on the output relay until the input one closes. So you don't get any of the arcing. So, and then when it unkeys, it does it in the opposite order. It'll unkey the input relay and then unkey the out one. So you don't get any arcing across the relays, which makes the life of the relay a lot greater. So these are 16 amp relays with double contacts. So 8 amps each contact. So you're actually having 2 contacts on the output instead of just one, which gives you double the receive capability. Sometimes the relays will lose the receive capability because of the contact knocking, making them, but we actually have 2 on each relay. So now you've got 2 contacts making instead of just 1 on the receive side. So that helps a lot.
Okay,
too.
well, that's good. Yeah. Well, wait. What are we building over here? Is this a ballon? Is that a ballon or something, or?
Now that is a 1-to-1 current ballon. Actually, let's see, that's the one for a dipole. We use the same setup for the current ballon. And what you see, the 2 wires she's putting in there now, you've got those ferrite beads wrapped around that RG303 coax.
Oh, see it now. Can I see? Can I hold one of those with the beads here, please? One of the things. Yeah. I didn't see the beads at first, but they're covered. They're covered with shrink wrap.
And that'll get folded up into the threes and put inside that pipe. And of course, I think you've got like 50 or 60 beads there, something like that.
And that coax, that's that RG.
That is RG303.
303.
And it's a Teflon dielectric inside. Makes it very.
I've built some ballons with that stuff, and I mean it's amazing that small stuff with the Teflon. It's rated like maybe 2,000 watts at 30 megs or something, you know.
With the Teflon, man, you can get that thing super hot. It's not even going to affect it.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I didn't realize the little beads were that small, and you just got a bunch of them on there, about 50 on there, and heat shrink them down on that. And now, does this fit inside what you're making there?
Yeah, she's going to fold it into threes, and you can look down in there and see it.
Oh, you're going to fold it into thirds.
That's why you have a little gap there.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but so you'll fold that in thirds and stick it down in here and try to hook it all up.
And like that, say that's for a dipole, but we also make one with a coax connector on the other end, so you can just slide it, drop into a series with your antenna if you need to.
Okay, cool.
And you see there's some of the coax there. Haven't got the beads.
Oh yeah. That's some good coax here. Yeah, it is. It is. Here's your plate choke for your 811 amp. It looks like.
The whole tube chassis where the sockets are, and the feedback network, and then the parasitics on the top. That's right.
Yep.
And then the power supply. There's a power supply for one of them, and part of the
And
tank.
part of the tank circuit.
That's right. They're on the same PC board.
Yeah.
And you can see that's what she's building parasitic suppressors right there. And then this lady is building a switching power supply for like the ALS 606 and stuff like that. You can see this is the circuit board.
Is that like a 50-volt supply or
It's
48?
it's 50 volts, 12 volts negative for all the components inside the unit.
All right, so 50.
50 for the
volt, how
finals.
many amps?
25 amps.
25
Yeah.
amps, 50 watt. Okay.
That's what it normally runs, 25 at 50 volts.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, you have your 12-volt circuits for the chips and all that stuff.
Sure.
Like that. So.
Okay.
Okay. We'll make it. We'll make it through. Okay. What?
ALS 600.
This is the solid state AL600 amplifier.
Right, and you see, these are the low-pass filters on the top. We're switched in by the relays. And then under that, you can see the PA section right there with the finals on it.
Is that some type thermal cutoff or something?
That is a thermal switch on the side of the heat sink. When it gets above 170, I believe, degrees, it's going to just click off and prevent the amplifier from keying
Does
up.
that amp have a fan or anything in it?
It does. It's on the it does. It's on the back side of the chassis, and you can see that's why that PA is wrapped in that aluminum, because it's feeding air right through it, and it comes out the side. Kind of like a little bit of
Yeah.
And this is one of the linear power supplies for that amplifier.
Linear. Okay, linear power
By
supply.
linear, I mean a huge transformer,
Right, not switching.
not switching. So I guess you could think of it as analog. But
That's, I guess, is that a solid state amp?
it is. The 606 and the 1306 are really very similar, but you add another PA. So this is basically the PA we're talking about here.
Which
so
one is this?
This is the 606 PA. So
And power-wise, how much?
power-wise, this is 600 watts.
600 watts.
But then for the 1306, all we're going to do is we're going to add another one.
Oh, you're going to put two of them in
We're
there.
going to put two of them side by side,
Yeah.
and then the power supply will have two power supplies, one each for each one. So basically, you're just doubling everything.
Do you parallel the output or something? How do you?
We run it into a combiner circuit, and then run it through a low pass filter, just
Okay.
like the other. So I'll show you that.
Yeah, gotcha. Gotcha. Look at those transformers, man. Those things are heavy.
That's the one that goes in the AFD.
Yeah.
1500s and 1200s.
This is a nice transformer, man. And that's not a cheap transformer either. I mean, there's a lot in here, man.
It's heavy, and we ship those in like 3 boxes. So
Yeah.
the transformer does not come in there. Now here's one of the power supplies we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the single unit. This is for the 1306, so we're going to have two individual power supplies, 50 volts, one for each PA. So, and that's why on the 1306 you have two current meters, one for each one of these power supplies.
So I'm not real familiar with it, but I guess if a power supply just quit working, you'd still have half power with the other.
Not really.
Not
No,
really.
it would not. No, because you're going through that combiner circuit. The amplifier is going to shut off. Anytime it detects a power output between the two PAs is greater than 50 watts,
Okay.
it just shuts it off. So
Okay.
that means
All right.
no
Well,
problems.
I learned something. Yeah.
Finished units for that PA. And you
What is okay? The
1306.
1306 with two.
You see the two PAs. And we'll flip it around here where you can see everything else. So you got the two PAs that are under the bottom, and then they come up. This is your combiner circuit, and it feeds it right into the low pass filter section. And that's basically, it's very simple. I mean, you take the power coming in, you split it right here, and you go to the two different PAs. It amplifies it, and it combines it right back together, and then runs it to the low pass filter.
You know, that is so pretty. Even if I wasn't a ham, I think I'd buy me one of these, take the cover off, and just set it on my coffee table for people to look at.
Yeah. And then right here is the 606. Basically, it's half of this amplifier. And you know, I don't think I have this one operational. Let me see if I do.
Kaboom!
Yeah, don't say that. Okay. So basically, what the 1306 and the 606, I have internal circuits that will control the pan. So as I switch my radio, you see, if I go to 160 meters, it's automatically going to 160.
How does it know to switch like that? Does it send some type data signal, cat signal or something?
Kenwood, ICOM, Yaesu all use different signals, but this one will accept all three of them. It's going to follow.
That's kind of neat. For instance, if I had this thing remoted with a RigPi, I could change bands, and the amplifier would change automatically.
Right, and we also have a device where you can do that over the internet. So you'll be able to remotely control the amplifier through an internet connection. So if you have that with your radio, and you control the amplifier too. So you can do that, or you can manually change it just like this, and you can hear the low pass filters changing in and out. But yeah, that'll be something that's new. That'd be our newest thing. Would be that internet control, which works with that. Was it the MFJ 1234?
The Rig Power 1234. Yeah.
So you'll be able to change everything remotely and operate a complete remote station at 1,300 watts if you wanted to.
Great. All right. Well, hey, what's your call?
KC5 NIS.
NIS. KC5 NIS. Okay. Well, great. Thanks for showing us around. And well, right hand shake. All right, guys. Well, that was a tour of Ameritron. I hope the audio was okay. I tried to manually compensate there some. So, if the audio wasn't good, it's my fault. Well, what do you think? What do you think about that, guys? Brett?
Yeah, well, I was offered one of those amplifiers at the Swap Fest, and I was very tempted.
You say you were offered one?
Yep, I was offered one. The fellow offered me. He kept cutting the price. I guess he really wanted to sell it. But right now I don't need one, so I couldn't justify. I don't think the XYL would have liked it if I brought it home.
Yeah, well, you should have got it. I thought when he offered it, he was going to give it to you, and I was going to say, man, if you turn that down, we got a problem here, But he was going to sell it to you. Well, I guess a used price, right?
Yeah, it's worth a few $100s at least, maybe about $400 or $500.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would say so. All right. Well, Glenn, what do you think about that, man? We got to see how they do the Ameritron, how they make it, man.
Yeah, that is just a cool place to go and visit. I loved it when they did, what was it, their 45th anniversary?
Yeah.
I really love that. And they gave tours of all the facilities and got to see all that cool stuff. And it's amazing when you stop and think that they make every, those big capacitor plates and everything for the tuners and the amps, right there on the ground. So I mean that's just cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. The rotor inductors and the big caps, they manufacture all the parts and put it together. I'm sure it saves a lot of money. I mean, man, you buy just a large air capacitor like that nowadays, man, you pay $100 to $200 for it.
Yeah.
They are expensive, unless you can find a deal somewhere like at a hamfest.
That's just cool.
Yeah.
He also does the wave soldering there on premises as well.
Yeah, I've got that on another video. That wave solder machine is pretty neat. Also, the little machine that does the parts, the pick and place parts.
Placement, yeah.
I don't see how it picks it. I don't see how it picks those parts and sticks them on that board. And that's before it hits the solder. All those parts stay on there. I guess there's some kind of little tacky.
Yeah, I think they use some kind of like tacky resin, like paste underneath it.
Yeah.
And it sticks.
They probably use something like a honey baked ham sauce that we get down at Huntsville.
There you go.
It gets really tacky, man. Just coat it with it, and the parts will stay right there.
They'll stay with
Oh
it
man, yeah.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
a friend of mine in Canada, he took the can for a ham and split it in half. So he's got like a top half and a bottom half, and separated them maybe 3/4 of an inch, and fed it like an antenna, and made contacts with it on 2 meters. It used a can.
Yeah, well, that would work. I mean, that would be pretty easy to do on 2 meters. It's getting close to the right size,
Yep.
So that's cool, and
And by the way, and I got one of them here. He's also making these things.
Yeah, you showed us that last time you were on.
Yeah, so it's the same guy.
Yeah,
He probably lays awake at night thinking, what can I get out of the kitchen and turn into an antenna?
Well, Jim, you may remember this if you go back 60 years like me. My first 2-meter antenna was a tuna can glued to a square piece of copper. Tuna can was turned upside down, and it had an SO239 on the top of it, and then the 19-inch whip with an a PL259 on it, and that was a 2-meter antenna, and it was like capacitive coupling. You lay that copper sheet on top of your car, and you run your couple strips of tape on it, and there you are. You got your tuna fish antenna.
We had the Gonset transmitter. Well, they were transmitter and a receiver, so they were a transceiver.
Mm-hmm.
And that, what do they call that box?
Well, it was the lunch box was a Heathkit, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had one of those.
I know what you're talking about, the Gonset box. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that was my
communicator
neighbor.
or something like that.
Was it called a Goonie Bird, or am I thinking something else?
I thought it was the communicator.
I don't know.
Oh, it was. That was the name on the front. You're right.
Yeah. Speaking of antennas.
Yeah.
Speaking of antennas, what do you got there? Is that a manifold off your motorcycle? What is it?
No, this is a Wi-Fi cantenna. This is made from.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And you see, if you look down at it,
Yeah.
you can see back there. That's a quarter wave stub.
Yeah.
And it feeds just this cylindrical antenna. It resonates at 2.4 gigahertz. It makes a really good directional antenna. If people used to do what was called war driving with these, where they'd shoot this at people's houses. It has about 10 to 12 dBi of gain.
It does?
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
and that exact same antenna, we actually, you guys, maybe you know about this. There was back before cable hit here, there was a service called MDS, Multi-Point Distribution System, and it was a one-channel movie channel. And you got you pay monthly, you get the book with all the movies in it. And here in Memphis, it was called Golden West, and that was put on by Gene Autry, the cowboy. And you could subscribe to that, but we built the little MDS receivers. It didn't have more than about $5 worth of parts in them, and we used the same coffee can antenna you're showing us there, Brett. It had the coffee can antenna with the little quarter wave antenna inside, and our electronics mounted right on the side of that coffee can on that antenna. And then we ran RG6 from there down to the TV, where we had a little box, and that oscillator up there at the can was actually tuned by variable voltage at the bottom, so you could fine tune the signal. And it would output a signal on channel 4 or channel 3, and we watched movies for free, and that was kind of cool and neat too.
That must have been a downconverter, because
it was a downconverter.
DS was something like 14 gigahertz.
It was a
that probably
downconverter.
converted it down to a frequency that you wouldn't lose too much of in the cable.
Yeah, it was a downconverter. Your electronics is up in the top with a little voltage tuned oscillator. So it's going to drift a little up there, and so hey, down here you got a little 8 volt to 14 volt variable power supply, and you just turn a little knob, and you just fine tune the frequency up there, and man, lock it in, and you're good to go.
Yeah, the FCC licensed MMDS and auctioned off the spectrum, and people bought it and sat on it, so it wasn't much used. It's kind of a shame, because it was a waste of good spectrum.
Yeah, I think Bill in the chat room saying that was probably 2.2 gig or 2.4 gig or somewhere up in there. They weren't really high like in a 12 or whatever, but hey, it was our first movie channel. We didn't have cable in the area. That was our first movie channel. Of course, we had people there at work that actually subscribed to Surface, so the service. So we were able to get their book each month and lay it in a copy machine, and get a copy of what's coming on at what time, But hey, we were talking about antennas, Jim. Just about anything can be an antenna, and especially if you put some type transmatch or a tuner or something on it, try to match it. I mean, people claim this antenna's best, or that antenna's best, or that antenna's best, or I can take a window screen here, and hey, I can put FT8 on a window screen, and I can work the world Now, would you say that? Would you say that antenna is better than a 3-element beam up 80 feet? I don't know. I worked the world on a window screen, you know.
I took 2 light bulbs
Yeah,
and a Y socket,
Yep.
modified the socket to turn them into a dipole.
Well,
And
and there are actually contests. There used to be some contests on FT8 to see who could make a contact the furthest on a light bulb.
Yeah.
So I even thought about maybe trying to do that for the show one time. I'm not a real big FT8 user. I played with it a little bit for a month or so, maybe not even that long, a couple years ago. They've got a new FT8 out. It may not be new now, but I think there's a version of it that's all automatic. You don't even have to be home. It'll just keep making contacts. You know, you can turn the thing on, and you can leave and come back, and you didn't work DXCC that day.
That's not the original. Joe Taylor and his group won't do that. They refuse to make it fully automatic.
But somebody's got
open source software.
Yeah.
And so a couple of guys have done fully automatic versions. There's
Yeah.
one called WSJTX. WSJTZ. That will be fully automatic, although the newer versions aren't real stable. And then there are a couple of others. If you go to GitHub, you can see what's available, and there are several forks of the original software that will be fully automatic.
Yep. Well, I was going to try it out. I couldn't make it work very well with my computer over here, so I never was real successful with the turn it on, walk away version of it. You know, oh man, I got too many other things to do here.
Well, going back to the antennas on 2 meter, Tom, you forgot to mention the one that most of us built way back then. You know, you were close with your tuna can. We'd take that SO239, solder a 19-inch coat hanger into it, and then in the 4 holes for the mounting.
Oh yeah.
We'd put 4
ground plane, make you a ground plane out of it. Yeah.
Ground plane, and that was our 2 meters. I ran that at my house in Miami forever.
And you ran RG58 to it.
Oh, of course.
Well, why not? Why not? You know.
That's right.
And it worked.
It still does.
You know,
as a matter of fact.
Oh man. Okay. All right, guys. Hey, let's take just a quick break, and we'll be right back. And hey, we're going to go to the MFJ metal shop next, and we're going to see how they punch and cut the metal and bend it and all that stuff and silk screen it. And so we'll do that just in a moment, and we'll be right back, so don't go away. Guys, stick around with us. Keep your competitive contesting edge with ICOM. Our innovative and high-powered base stations cut through pileups, letting you work the bands and record those contacts. Heard it, worked it, logged it. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. Faint signals are no longer a challenge for DXers or contesters. The high-performance RMDR can pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. This direct sampling software-defined radio has changed the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. The IC7610 has RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receiver, and dual digi-select. For more information on ICOM radios, go to www.icomamerica.com/amateur. All right, guys, and we are back, and we're going to go to the MFJ metal shop in a minute, and we're going to check out their new machine. You know, MFJ probably has some of the lesser expensive equipment, and I think everybody will agree. Probably every ham shack in the world probably has at least one piece of MFJ equipment.
Only one?
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, but I think everybody's at least got one piece of something. I don't know. I've got something. What about you, Glenn? Let's just do a quick. You got any MFJ stuff?
I look to the ham shack to my left, and I see 4, 5, 6 MFJ objects right there.
All right. How about you, Jim? You got any MFJ?
Antenna. I'm big into antennas, so amongst my collection of antenna analyzers, I've got 2 MFJ what are they called?
Antenna
Glenn or
analyzer?
Brett? Yeah, but they have a number like 259.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. I've got a couple of
Yeah.
those
Oh,
too.
the analyzer. Yeah, the
Yeah.
259, 269C
Yeah.
and thereabouts.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Brett? Have you got anything, or you just
Yes, I've
what?
got an MFJ 269 antenna analyzer. I've got several MFJ SWR and watt meters, and I have a little keyer for Morse code from them. So yeah, I've
Yeah.
got several MFJ objects around the
And in the
shop.
chat room, Bill says he's got 10 pieces of MFJ stuff right now in view. Don says he's got 5. Yeah, make that 5. He keeps the count keeps going up. First he had 3, now he's got 5. So if he keeps looking around, he might find something
I was
else.
going to say, if I look in the other room, I've got the antenna analyzer and a
Yeah,
watt meter
yeah,
and a couple other things
yeah.
over there too.
All right, so like I say, I think just about every ham in the world, not just U.S., but in the world, he has dealers all over, and I think most hams are going to have at least one piece. Wow, Glenn? Why didn't we start MFJ 50 years ago?
Because
Well,
I was too busy buying his stuff.
yeah, I guess, yeah,
I mean, I remember one of my first pieces of gear was that MFJ 941 tuner, so I could load up the rain gutter outside my apartment,
yeah.
and it worked well.
All right, so we're going to go now to the metal shop. All his facilities in where is he?
Starkville.
Where is he? He's in
He's in Starkville.
Stark Vegas.
Yeah, Stark Vegas.
He's in Stark Vegas. That's what they call it down here. Big college town. Um, so most all of his buildings are either next door to each other, or they share a building, or they're very close. The metal shop is pretty close. And we're going to look at the metal shop now, and we're gonna see how they do things. And this is a new metal punch cutter he got. He had to put it in, and I think the other one went bad, and it was going to cost something like It cost him like $300,000 or $400,000, I think, to replace that. So that would leave me out right there. Glenn, that's the reason I didn't go in business making MFJ. I can't afford a $300,000 punch.
Yeah, that's a pretty steep price to get in there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here we go. This is a much shorter video. This is going to take you inside the MFJ metal shop, and we're also going to do some silk screening right here. So here we go. Here we go. I only got 2 buttons to press. Hey, we met before. How you doing, man? How you doing?
Good to see you.
Hey, man, I hear you got some new equipment here.
Yeah, I got a new machine back here. Got an automatic loader on it. We're excited about what it's doing.
Well, I hear you don't even have to be here now. That thing will run itself almost.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of me. That's what it is.
I smell paint coming from your silk screen.
Yeah, I just came out of the silk screen room. That's right.
What can we see first, man?
We're going to run a 974 HB.
All right, we're going to do a 974 HB. I'm not sure what that is. Is this it right here? This is a new one? Oh man, this is first class here, man. This is not like the punch I remember. Oh. All right, so yeah, I'll make sure the number. Okay, so you're making a 9 what?
A 974 HB.
All right, well let's do it. So he pushes the magic button here, and oh, look over there. We got something going over there. Is it going to pick the metal out or something, or?
It's reading the clamps.
It's reading what?
It's reading the position of the clamps. So the machine doesn't punch on the clamp.
Okay, well, this is above my pay level.
Oh man, this is. I don't remember the other punch being this big. Did it have all this stuff?
It does not. No, it didn't.
So this is what's it doing now? Filling the tires
That-
up or something?
That air that you hear blowing is making sure that the sheets are separated so it doesn't pick up more than one at a time.
Oh, I see. That's picked the sheet up already there. Oh, I see the suction cups right there. I didn't know. I thought that was part of the system. All right, look at this. I like it, man. Uh-oh. I like it. Ed, I think we could build one of these.
Oh,
What do you
yeah.
think, man?
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right. Now what's that over here? Is it punching?
Yes, it's punching, and if you've seen or heard our other machines, you can tell that it is much quieter. It has a lot quieter function to it as it's running.
Yeah. It sounds real muffled, like it is real quiet. So how many boxes you gonna punch out here on this?
This will punch 20 boxes on this sheet.
And again, what was this product?
It's a 974 HB.
Now, what is that?
I'm quite honestly not sure.
A 974 HB, whatever that is. Somebody look it up out there. It's watching the show tonight. Whatever it is, we're going to do 24 boxes. We're going to do 20 boxes here real quick.
In the past, we were only able to punch 5 of these at a time, and the sheets had to be cut into sections. Now we'll punch 20 of them and not have to cut the sheet. No, I don't.
Do we have anything that's already punched out here? So,
Ready to be deburred.
yeah. So I'm guessing that 2 coax connectors go in here, probably a meter, and maybe a capacitor and a sensitivity or something. I don't know. There it is. Hey, so let's walk through the silk screen.
Turn you back to Brad.
Have Brad take us through the silk screen. I know it's painty in here, right? It's okay. All right, let's walk through. We won't stay long because I don't want my eyeballs coated with that. But here we go. We're going into the secret silk screen area here now. All right, I can smell paint already. All right. Hello, how are you? What? So you're making the your silk screening the 945E, whatever that is. Looks like a antenna tuner or something. Yeah, you're gonna be on our show. No, it'd be probably Tuesday night. So, have you? Can you in a minute when you get ready? Can you silk screen us something? Or are we not? Yeah, I know. Well, that's okay. But just tell us how it works, okay? It probably is. Just kind of go through the process and tell us what you do. You raise this up and what? Put the board in there or the cover.
Yeah, it has to be set up first. And
Uh-huh.
you just take it and this we call it a jig, but it keeps it in place so it don't slide or anything.
Uh-huh.
Make sure it's clean and free of dust or deburr. And you just take it and you want to make sure you get everything on there. You got to press hard, put pressure on it.
Do you go over it just once?
Just once. If you go over it twice, it may blur or
Yeah,
look
that looks
double.
good. That looks really good. Wow, the whole thing's printed here. Yeah, looks good. All right. Well, you got you another one now. How long does it take before this paint dries so you can't, smear it with your hand? Maybe
Just a few
10.
seconds.
Oh, really?
It's dry now.
Is that right? Okay.
Well, I messed it up.
Oh, you bad.
But it just takes a minute or two.
You bad.
It dries pretty fast.
Well, that's very good. Okay, we're going out. Well, I'm really impressed with the new punch, man. I like it.
It's doing a really good job for us.
So metal, you get metal coming in here. Now, some of this metal's already painted black, isn't it? Do you order it with the...
We order it when it comes in. It's already painted black. We do have some that's plain aluminum or whatever, but our black metal is already pre-painted when it comes in.
So if you wanted to punch a box that you don't have a configuration for, is it fairly easy for you to go to the computer and just draw a couple little circles and measurements and say, use this template and stamp me out a box?
It is. You can go in and place coordinates in AutoCAD or use a DXF drawing file, and this software that we're using actually will generate the box for us.
Well, next time I build something, I have to send you an email, man, and give you the dimensions there.
Okay, guys. Well, excuse me. That was the the metal shop. I can't talk. I got to clear my throat. Wow. Some of that paint got to me, I think. Woo! That's some strong stuff. All right. What do you think about that silk screen in there, Glenn? That was kind of cool.
I think it's very cool. I mean, just like you say, they do everything there in-house. And
well, yeah, and then they take that that box that's been silk screened, and they'll take it out to their bender, and they've got a bender then that will bend that panel into the box, the top half,
Right.
and they'll have another bottom half, and so forth. That's pretty cool, man.
that was very cool. By the way, that 947 HB is a 10 to 160 meter balanced line tuner.
Mm.
So that's
right.
what they were building.
All right. Well, hey, Glenn, let's mention the Hamfest coming up here real quick. Let's see what we got coming up here. We've got Russellville coming up.
That's on March the 2nd.
March the 2nd over in Dardanelle, Arkansas. That's just right outside of Russellville, Arkansas, on the Arkansas River. Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Seriously thinking about going to that one.
Well, come on over. We're going to be there. I think it's a one day. I'm not sure.
It is
it's
one
a one day.
Starts at 8 o'clock in the morning.
So, we'll be there. That's my college town. As you guys may remember, I made a trip back about 3 months ago. I hadn't been to the college in about 50 years since I attended there. And man, it has grown. That place has grown. Anyway, I enjoy going back there. It brings back old memories there. So that's I call it the Russellville Hamfest. It's actually the Arkansas River Valley Hamfest. And then we've got coming up just maybe about a week or so after that, March 16th,
March the 16th,
two weeks. The Trenton Hamfest.
Tennessee.
They're in Trenton, Tennessee. That's just north of Jackson, Tennessee. It'll probably be about an hour and a half drive for us. And Glenn and I are probably going to be going up there. I'm going to be doing a presentation. They've asked me to do a presentation on the Pico balloons that we do, so we'll be doing one there.
Yeah, now Dalton, Georgia is during that time frame as well. I had their flyer here, but it is buried under a mountain of cat fur at the moment, so that's not happening.
Yeah.
But if anybody knows the date for Dalton, there we go. Dalton is February 24th in Dalton, Georgia.
Yep. That'll probably be a good one there too.
Yeah. I did a forum there probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Really nice little ham fest.
All right. Well, I was thinking about, hey, again, talking about Russellville, April 6th, we've got the big eclipse, the total eclipse coming again. It's going to go right through the central Arkansas and right through Russellville and Little Rock. Little Rock's a couple-hour drive from here. I thought about going over to see it, but man, I have read so much from different places. What I'm finding out about and Brett gave us a report on one that came through his state here a year or two ago, where the population of the state doubled. But what I'm reading is the experiences of other people that actually went to one. They went to one. It was so crowded, you almost couldn't find a place to park on the interstate. Of course, it only lasts about 5 or 10 minutes. And then afterwards, they almost couldn't get home. The interstate was going walking speed to no speed. The interstate was completely packed. My understanding is gas stations were running out of gas everywhere. All the fast food places ran out of food. So it seems like it's not a great thing to be caught in. So
yeah, I think the traffic's going to be pretty bad.
yeah.
I've toyed with going over and see it, but I think the traffic is just going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, I checked about, see if I could go over, a couple of days early, I thought, avoid the traffic and everything. I checked hotels in Arkansas. Just about every hotel in Arkansas 6 months ago were charging $400 a night.
Yeah.
$400 a night, man. It wasn't a hotel I think you could get anywhere. So I don't know. I'm going to miss that, I guess. We're not going to.
Well, we're going to get, partial over here.
We'll get a little bit of it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what percentage we're going to get, but, we'll get a part of it.
The last one we had that came through Nashville about 2 or 3 years ago. It was the Sunday afternoon after Huntsville Hamfest, and Nashville's just a couple hours up the road from Huntsville, and that would be an easy way for us to get home, up to Nashville and then I-40 back to Memphis. But we decided at the last minute not to go up there. We were just going to drive up there and stop in a Walmart parking lot or somewhere and watch it, but
yeah,
heard too many stories, so we just stayed there in Huntsville. And we saw it. It was probably, I'd say it's probably about 60 or 70%, block that we saw. I've never experienced a total eclipse myself, but
yeah, we came very close in Miami when I was growing up. I want to say we had like 80 to 90%.
Yeah. Well, Chris, it's going to go near Houston. Chris, I just see Chris said in the chat room it's going to be 95% down there. That'd be pretty good. So it's going to go right about from the bottom southwest corner of Arkansas up to the northeast corner of Arkansas, just straight across and cut the state in half. That's not that far from here, guys, but I don't think I can take the traffic and all that. So anyway, I think it's out for me. I'll have to watch it on TV.
Yeah, that's probably the safest way.
And one of these people that are coming in, millions of people will be coming in from out of state, 2 states over, 3 states, 4 states.
Oh, it's going to be insane.
And making those $400 a night reservations. And let me tell you, there's nothing to say it won't be cloudy that day. It could very well be cloudy or raining that day, and that would be a bummer, man. That'd be a bummer.
Yeah, that would really ruin it for everybody.
Yep. Let's see.
And you know what they say about April showers.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a presentation here in our show here, 3 weeks ago, with a group talking about the scientific studies that ham radio will provide data for the eclipse, and they're going to come back and be on the show again one more time before it happens. All right. Let's see here. Hey, guys, I live in a HOA. My neighborhood's an HOA, but it's really not enforced very strong. I mean, we pay dues, but that helps to keep the entry, bushes out there trimmed and fertilized and watered and all kinds of things, And so we do have an HOA here. Not very strict. I've never had any trouble with them. I've got all kinds of antennas up. But probably 20 years ago, I took my tower down, my beams down, and I eventually gave them away here several years ago. But I do everything with wire antennas now, and I can just about do anything with a wire antenna that I can do with, a tower up and a tri-band beam up. And it's been fun experimenting with different antennas. I've got 40-meter extended ZEP antennas up. I've got 3/8 verticals for 40. I've got halfway verticals for 40. I've got fan dipoles. I've got off-center fed. I got so many wires and stuff out there. Nobody can see them. They just blend into the trees, and the lots out here are pretty big. Nobody can see it, so you can get by with HOAs if you want to. Some are really tough. You might get by with a flag pole antenna, or I tell you, I mean, you can take some pretty small wire, and it's almost invisible. Man, you could run you a in-fed antenna out an upstairs window or something out to a tree. Nobody would see it. In fact, a bird probably wouldn't even see it, and it'd probably run into it. So there are antennas that you can put up out there. And don't forget, there's all these stealth ways.
Always the rain gutter.
Well, yeah, that's where I was going next. There's all these stealth ways that, the gutters on a house. I've got a lot of gutters around my house. And, hey, you take a little simple tuner like Brett's got one. I've got the SGC 237, I think, auto tuner.
Or the AH4 is really good. If
take it, and it don't even have to be an auto tuner. But, hey, man, I take that little auto tuner. I'd put it out there at the bottom of one of the downspouts. I'd drive me a ground rod in the ground, put that tuner right there behind a bush, bring the coax in. I would have an all-band antenna, and I guarantee you I would work everywhere with it. You could even use a manual tuner. Just bring it in and use a manual tuner. Now,
that's what I graduated to in my apartment. Was I used the rain gutter for a while, and then I would take a fishing pole with a little weight on the end, and I would sling 28 gauge, 30 gauge wrap wire out the back into a tree, and I had me a nice 60-foot long wire, and you could not see that thing, not at all.
Oh yeah. Now, in my problem, I've looked at my gutters. They're pretty big diameter gutters, but I imagine that where they're connected together, they're not connected very well. The gutters actually has some type coating, some type baked on. I don't know what you call it. It's like paint. But anyway, if I was going to do that, I think I would try to get out there. And everywhere I had a gutter joint, I'd probably at least put me a sheet metal screw through it, and just to make sure all of them connect, So there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to use stealth antennas. I imagine Jim is using stealth antennas right now.
I do live in an HOA. The HOA rules are enforced through the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, which is a contract you sign as a part of the purchase. But when I investigated the HOA here, and this is just amongst the few of us, the HOA had not had a meeting in 30 years.
Yeah.
And there were no dues being collected. So I decided it was not being enforced. And one of the neighbors complained and got together with some of the other neighbors, but there wasn't much they could do. So anyway, I did put up a 3-element Yagi on a rotating crank-up mast. In fact, I'm going to push the button and lower it here in just a minute.
Yeah, in fact, I've watched your video of your homemade crank-up tower. I've watched that video.
The tower is a
is it a tubular? Is it tubular?
It's a tubular tower. The speed controls and the motor and that stuff, I added that. So I put a motor on it. As a matter of fact, from Harbor Freight. and then 2 speed controls, pulse width modulation, one going up, one going down. Different speeds are required. A big 12-volt supply, and a 433 megahertz controller. And then I attached a Yagi to the top of the box and pointed the Yagi in towards the house.
Mhm.
So wherever I am, I can press the button on the remote controls and run it up and down. And then I have cameras that are on my cell phone, and I can look at it as it goes up and down to make sure nothing's going wrong.
I think the last place I lived had a HOA too, but I think they had. I think the rule was you could put up an antenna not to exceed 20 feet higher than your house. And I mean, the houses are fairly tall. I mean, by the time you have a second story and then maybe a tall attic, you're looking at 30 feet there. So you could go up to 50
true.
feet.
As a matter of fact, in this county, this city rather, there's a height limit of 30 feet in the residentially zoned areas. Now, I was a planning commissioner and a building inspector and a deputy tax assessor and code enforcement. So 30 feet, yep, that's exactly the number here. And I asked, well, why 30 feet? And the guy couldn't answer. The answer is they just picked what seemed like a 12 and 12 pitch on top of a 2-story house. That's 30 feet. So if your antenna is 30 feet or less, they don't care.
Yeah.
If it's over 30 feet, they're going to be knocking at your front door. And as a matter of fact, they did.
Yeah. Now mine is 40 feet. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't that like 5 sections of Roan 25?
40 feet would be
No, that'd be
4 sections,
They're 10 feet long.
roughly. I mean, they're 10-foot sections. Usually your
Well,
top
I
section.
got 5 sections, and I
Well,
got
your
a
top
40-foot
sections.
limit.
Top section's usually what, 8 feet. I think
Yeah,
it
it's a
comes
little
8 feet.
shorter.
I thought the top section of a Roan 25. Okay, they've changed
It's
it.
about 8 feet. Yeah.
I thought it was a half section.
Yeah. No, actually, I think I've got four sections and the top section. So, yeah, they can take a tape measure.
Well, I'd always take, when you take a tower down, you can't get it out of concrete, so you always cut it off with a hacksaw.
Right.
And then you save that piece. You save that piece when you go to the next house. You just stick that down in the ground and pour concrete around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've left concrete in a couple of places.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we all do.
The buyer probably is thinking, I'm going to have to dig this thing out. Well, they have to go down 6 feet to get to the bottom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's this bill now that Congress has put out there, and basically it's called the Amateur Radio Emergency Preparedness Act of 2024. Congress has done it now. I don't know, the wording always leaves something here that can always be challenged. Let's see, clarify the approval process for installing antennas, prohibit homeowner association rules that would prevent or ban amateur radio antennas. I mean, they may say, yeah, you can have one, but you can't have it more than 5 feet off the ground, I mean,
I've read the text though, and the text actually says right now they say that it has to be they have to allow one that's at least 43 feet tall.
Really?
Which is not bad, although Wyoming has a better law. Wyoming has a law that says that no ordinance or regulation adopted by a county can establish a maximum height of less than 70 feet. Here in Wyoming, it's very lax already.
Yeah.
The problem is HOAs, homeowners associations, they're stronger than the city or county ordinance. So if they limit your antenna to 5 feet off the ground and the city says 43, they're going to go after you if it's more than 5 feet off the ground.
Well, and that's where people bring in a dump truck and they raise the ground about 8 feet, in a backyard, and then they put the tower on top of that. And I've seen that done. So let's see. Is this? No, that's the wrong one.
So I've gone and called the senator's office and commented and said that they should increase that height, that cap on the height limit a little more and make it 18 meters. And the reason why is that's about the height of a DX commander that can get down into the 80-meter band. I figured, okay, if you're going to justify this on the basis of doing emergency communications, Well, you want to be able to use 80 meters because that'll do skip a real long ways. So I don't know if they're going to make the change, but that's what I recommended to them anyway.
So here's where we stand. Here's where we stand with that. I don't know if you can read this or not, but you can see down at the bottom there's a little track there. It's introduced, but it still has to go through past Senate, past the House. It's got to go to the President, and then it's got to, then it becomes law. So we got a ways to go on that. We'll see how it goes. I know the other one they did a few years ago. It never worked out. So.
Well, it was.
Tom,
yeah.
I need to take off.
All right, Jim. Well, hey, man, we're so glad you were with us tonight and
Well,
felt
thank
like
you.
being with us, man. Appreciate you being here.
I'm very happy to be here, and I got yet another award from the ARRL.
Yeah, yeah.
A1 Operators Award, so that's number 5. Thank you. And
All
so
right.
I'm going to put that up on the wall, and I'm very happy. Yeah, thanks. Very happy to get that and add it to the other frames up on the wall. So I'm kind of proud of that.
All right. Well, very good. You should be. That's
All right.
that's
So
a great.
I need to go
great
take some
thing.
medication, but guys, thank you very much for letting me join in, and take care, and hope to see you next week.
All right, we'll see you next week,
Thank you,
and
Jim.
we have reached 9:30. Let me just make a quick announcement here. This show is Amateur Radio Roundtable. It's about ham radio, shortwave, electronics, and other things. And we are on our YouTube channel, or you can just go to w5kub.com to find our show. We're on Tuesday nights. The video shows on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Central, w5kub.com. Or you can hear the show. You can hear the show in its entirety on International Shortwave Station, WBCQ, on 7490 every Thursday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Is that, yeah, Eastern Time, 5 to 7 Eastern Time. If you get a chance, join us on Tuesday nights, w5kub.com. All right, and let me just make just another quick announcement here. It may get cut off on, let's see, when we trim our video here. For those that are pulling up just a podcast, sometimes we leave the 30 minutes of pre-show music on the beginning of the show to fill a 2-hour slot. So if you pull our show up on a podcast and you're hearing music, just fast forward 30 minutes in. If you don't want to hear the music, fast forward 30 minutes in. That's where the show starts, and that would be that'd be cool. You know, one of the things I get every show, I get hit. YouTube tells me our show, because of our music, our show has been banned in Russia. So nobody in Russia is seeing our show. Probably again tonight, depending on the music we played here. Anyway, that's my announcements, and I'm sticking to it. All right, well, guys, we just about did another one. Any last words? Anything to say?
No, I'm just looking forward to getting to all these hamfests.
Yeah.
You know, Dayton's just not all that far off.
Oh, that reminds me. I am looking for volunteers that are going to Dayton that will just walk around with their smartphone and be a video guy for us. Give us 20 minutes twice. We're gonna try to webcast on Saturday. If you can give us 20 minutes of your time walking around, just showing what you're seeing that morning or maybe that afternoon, I need about 10 people. And we will, from the studio here, we'll bring you guys in. I hope to have a good high-impact show with lots of video. And we will give away a lot of prizes to our viewers out there that day if I can get about 10 volunteers to help me to stream various videos from the Dayton Hamvention. If I can't get that, there's really no need of even doing a stream that Saturday. So hopefully somebody will come through and we'll get some helpers.
Well, if you want an easy one, you can record my forum, which will give you an hour, and you get to sit and relax and just record, and we'll get Tom to stream that live.
I really wouldn't relax that much because it'd take me 10 hours to get up there, set the camera up, another
No, I'm
30
talking
minutes,
about
and then
somebody
10 hours
recording my
10 hours
forum.
to drive home. So I can't do it. Now, if one of those volunteers,
That's what I'm saying. Get one of those volunteers.
if
to,
one of those
to come in and
volunteers can do it and he would like
stream
to
it for
hear
an
your
hour and off you go.
presentation, that would be great, you know. All right, so hey, if you're interested, contact me. My email is tom@w5kub.com, or you know, put it on our Facebook group. All right, Glenn, good night, man. We'll see you next week.
It's time. It's popcorn and peanut butter sandwich time.
Yeah, and Brett, well, I guess we'll see you next week.
Yeah, for me it's bird time. I've got to go and collect eggs for my wife.
All right, man.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, well.
We'll see
take
you
care.
guys later. Good night, everybody.